Drew Martin, how are you, my friend? I see you. You got your shirts in.
Oh, yeah, we got the shirts in. We got the shirts in a long time ago.
Nice.
So, yeah, they've been working out well, without a doubt. I actually got a phone call from somebody the other day for a T-shirt.
To
Guess
buy your
what?
T-shirts.
Yeah, it was the wrong number.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wow, they actually are working. But whatchamacallit, yeah, it was somebody had the wrong number. But,
Oh, well. So they're almost working.
yeah,
False
exactly.
start.
We know the number is working. That's the important part.
So the number's been tested and it's been approved, so it works.
That's it. That's exactly.
Dude,
Here, let me
you
ask
have been absolutely crushing it, right? And the wholesale side of things, you have been absolutely crushing it. You're doing the flips. I know you're thinking about getting into rentals now. What has, like, just walk me through the past couple of deals. What have you been up to? What is working?
So I haven't wholesaled anything in basically almost a year now. I mean, we're doing everything we're taking down and buying direct. And then if possible, we've been flipping them right over to iBuyers, but that whole market has disappeared since the COVID-19 epidemic started, basically. But what we're doing otherwise is when we're not able to flip it right to an iBuyer is doing the rehab ourselves, whether it be just a lipstick or a complete rehab. I mean, we just had a full rehab hit the market 2 days ago. We had another one hit the market today that, well, I'd call it a heavy lipstick, but we did also do about $10,000 in foundation work, a new roof. And I mean, it's more than a lipstick, basically. Yeah. So it was really just the interior was more cosmetic in the sense of paint, some new flooring, but not replacing kitchens and bathrooms. So,
right.
Yeah.
Wow. So you and your partner, right, have been working together, what, 2 years now? 2.5 years?
Yeah, about 2 years.
2 years. And so At the beginning, it was all wholesale. It was just wholesale, right?
That was actually, no, with the previous partner I was working with, we were doing nothing but wholesale. As far as since we started this project together, everything we've bought and taken down ourselves. We moved into the new market that we're in. The option of wholesaling is not as easy in the state of North Carolina. In North Carolina, you really have to buy the property. I mean, you can assign contracts, but it's, we have the ability to take them down, so we'd rather take them down ourselves, and then do the work and maximize our return on them.
Yeah, you're seeing a better return from going and doing the deal yourself as opposed to wholesaling it off.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you make your money when you buy is the bottom line. And, that's what we've been able to do is buy right. So, when this whole thing happened, a lot of people are freaking out right now because they're sitting on property that just isn't going to move, or, they're not doing the greatest of rehabs, the greatest work to it. So it's not going to show right. But there's a big reason as to why we went into the market that we're in. And now we're about to go into another market, but specifically because it was, it's the hottest market in the country. Raleigh-Durham Triangle area is the #1 place in the country to move to. So, we did a lot of research looking at it. And when we decided to go here, the big factor that drew us to it is that when the real estate market crashed over 10 years ago, it was one of the few markets that held solid, that did not collapse. They saw declines of single digits as opposed to like South Florida, for example, 50% cuts basically. So right. It's a huge, obviously a huge indicator of working in a strong market. And, a good little piece of information that I've seen recently, I read an article in the past week or so talking about what markets will do the best because coming out of COVID-19, and we're right in the top 5. So, yep. Which gives you a lot of, makes you feel warm and fuzzy because, obviously there's stuff looming over right now that's a lot of unknown throughout real estate, throughout everything, as we all know.
Yeah, there's some big shifts. There's a book called Big Shifts Ahead that one of my mentors is telling me to read, and he just kind of did an overview today. Charlie Dobbins, a big multifamily guy, and it talks a lot about prior to this. I think the book was written back in 2015, so it had a lot of cultural things. Right. This is like a whole extra element that's just like natural causes, right? It's like a hurricane just drops in, and it's like, well, didn't see that coming. But
right.
So what are you guys doing to adjust right now during this situation?
Well, the biggest thing is what we've been doing all along is buying right is really what it comes down to. I mean, like the ones that we just put on the market. I mean, to give you an example, we just did put a full property that we completely flipped on the market that you know, for a couple of different factors and unforeseen issues that popped up with it, we ended up adding about $15,000 to our rehab budget. You know, we had bought the property for 97. You know, we had an original budget of approximately, I think it was 32 or 33 to get it done. And we ended up somewhere around 47,000 basically when all is said and done. But, you know, we're selling it, we're listed at 190. You know, I mean, we bought it right and knew that we had the room. So we're not getting crushed in the back end basically. And it's, I mean, the feedback we're already getting is it's by far the nicest property at that price point within a mile of the property. So we're pretty confident it's gonna get under contract soon and it's gonna close. So, you know, which is really exciting on our side, basically. I mean, the other one we just put on the market today, we bought it for $81,000. It was in a foreclosure status. And even with doing the $10,000 worth of foundation work, a new roof, a new deck, I mean, we did a lot of work, more exterior work than anything else, and then painting the inside. There was one room that we refinished. But long story short, we're all in at about 117, and we just listed it for 195.
Nice,
so,
nice. You guys have that ballpark of you're selling these around 200, and as long as you get them under 100, you know you can do this all day.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's case by case. I mean, these ones are on the lower end. I mean, we've got a couple other, you know, larger deals.
We only talk about our favorites, right?
right, exactly. I mean, you know, these are some good ones here. But, you know, our spreads wise, I mean, right now, you know, realistically for 2020, the deals that we have in the pipe, we're at about $60,000 plus of revenue for each deal that we're doing, basically. That's expected.
That's a good place to be.
It's a really good place to be. I mean, we've got a deal that'll hit the market beginning of May that I mean, they sold it as is. It might need $3,000 in touch-up paint. I know there's a door jamb that a kid kicked in. You know, the little brother kicked in the older brother's door jamb or whatever.
Yep.
Maybe a little touch-up paint. I mean, I'm not even $3,000. We bought it for $272. We're probably listing it for about $375.
No way.
Unreal. And
that's a cool deal. That's a cool one.
That's a great deal. It's an exciting deal. And the house is really nice. It's in a great area. There's nothing for sale in that area. It's a beautiful, beautiful neighborhood, basically.
Nice.
And then we got another one, actually, you know, one of the big things because of COVID-19, you know, I don't know, I'm sure you're familiar with Open Door, you know, one of the biggest cash buyers that are out there. They're buying, these companies have been buying these absolutely ridiculous numbers. And what do? As soon as the proverbial shit hits the fan, they canceled all their contracts and exited all their markets, basically, because they cannot absorb even a 5% hit with their model. I mean, I don't know how they're doing it. I mean, we've been kind of waiting for this, you know, and we've been positioned for this because it just you can't sustain it. I mean, Zillow, you can see their stock, they got crushed in the last 2 years, basically, more than a 50% decline at one point, all because of their iBuyer stuff. And I know that they have something like 1,800 houses that they own right now that they bought, and they buy them at such high numbers that the exit strategy really doesn't exist other than doing it than traditionally selling it. And, you know, so we've been buying houses, you know, in the past year where we've simply sold them right over to companies like Open Door. We still got a huge return on it. And then, but, you know, and then we see them sell it and they're making a couple grand and we're making, you know, nice, you know. Yeah, I don't want to go over
67,000.
Not necessarily on those ones.
Not on those,
not on those ones, but let's just say that, you know, they've been very, very nice returns that were, you know, north of half of that number that you just gave. So not bad.
It's a win. I think if you're making 30,000 on a flip, it was worth it, right?
Exactly.
30,000 per partner. 30,000 per partner, you're doing really good.
Absolutely. I mean, ideally, we don't want to do any work, you know, to anything if we don't have to. I mean, we have another one that we just sold a little while ago that we picked up for $70,000, and then we literally put it right on the market because our contractor came in with this insane bid, and you know, so we put it right on the market, sold it for $115. It was under contract in a week. So
get rid of it.
You just got to buy it right is what it comes down to. And that's where, you know, it's, you know, you hear about it. So you make money when you buy, you make money when you buy. But people, you know, the one thing that excites me about COVID-19, as much as it's sad and scary and all that stuff, is that hopefully a lot of these, you know, ankle biters and people in this industry that don't know their ass from their elbow. And I mean, are these wholesalers that call these remote wholesalers that call themselves wholesalers, and they don't really, they have no clue what it actually takes to do this work.
Right.
and why you need to have a spread to be able to do it. Because at the end of the day, if there isn't a spread, it's not even worth it. It's not worth doing all this work and taking on the stress, the headache, everything that comes with managing that asset for a $10,000 return or something like that. It's just not worth it at all.
No,
So
you can do other things with your time, right? You
right.
can do other things that'll give a better return.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is not a a business that it's just not worth doing it for minuscule returns. Wholesaling a deal, sure, $10,000 return, great. Do your thing basically. But when
Right.
you're yeah, I mean, we get these. I have wholesalers call me all the time. It's so funny. You can look at my. I wonder if I can pull it up on my phone basically. But it's gotten to the point where I'm not even concerned with what their name is when they call. I just say, listen, we're buying everything. We're cash buyers. If you got a deal, if the deal makes sense, we'll buy it. And we will, and there's no question that we will. But I'll show you in here. Let's see. I mean, there are a couple names on here basically, but just really quickly. I've started to call them rookie wholesaler. These are all rookie wholesalers basically that I have saved to my phone basically. And they come and they go. Very rarely do they actually send us anything.
Right.
But when they do, usually you take one look at it, it's like, this isn't a deal. Like this isn't, So our concentration is finding our own deals and, and working them hard, looking for the, and making sure that it's worthwhile to work it basically. It's what it really comes down to. So
that's one of the pieces that a lot of wholesalers don't understand. They just don't grasp like how the numbers actually work. For them, 10 grand's good, but for us, 15 grand doesn't. All the risk, all the liability, all the money, all the time that's being put out there. It's like, wholesale, you got no risk contract, right? With what we do when we're rehabbing, like there's a lot, right? When we buy it, there's a lot.
Right. And I mean, it's not even, it's not that we're trying to get rich or anything like that, but it's really the sheer complexity of everything that goes on this basically that is not being taken into account from that side basically. At the end of the day, hey, if you got a deal, if the numbers make sense, I hope you're making 100 grand on the back end, and we'll write that check all day long. I mean, no problem, but it's got to make sense on our side to take it on and to do everything that comes with it. It's just, there's too many headaches and too many issues that pop up to not have enough room in there to make it happen. And, I mean, it's crazy with some of the stuff that people put forth. I mean, it's funny how, you got one guru after another sitting here telling you how, no money, you don't need any money, you can do this, blah, blah, blah. And can you do it with no money? I mean, yeah. But
technically, but it's easier to do it with no money once you've had some money.
Right. Exactly. But not only that, it takes so much to get it. You got the marketing, you have to spend money on marketing. You're not doing that. How are you getting it? How are you going to get it? It just doesn't make sense. Don't get me wrong, Craigslist is a good tool. Last year, we did a very nice deal off of Craigslist. Every year we get a deal off of Craigslist, that we did tens of thousands of dollars off of basically just by posting ads on Craigslist. Right. But, that's posting ads 2-3 times a day for 7-8 months before we got one deal.
And you look at it, can you live off of one deal? Can you live off 1 or 2 deals a year?
Right.
And deal flow is not there.
Exactly. And most of these guys, they're don't get me wrong. I respect the hustle. Do your hustle thing, stick with your day job, make some money, do this on the side. But a lot of people don't have what it takes to be able to put that hustle in basically, because they'll post those ads to Craigslist for 3 weeks. Like, man, nobody's even fucking called me. This is a waste of my time, and then they just give up basically. And I was saying to myself, like 6 months in, I'm like, I've been posting these ads every single day and nothing is coming from it basically. And then the phone rings. And then I got to sell my house right now. And then we put it under contract. And then it was like, holy guacamole. You know what I mean? And it was one of those ones where we messed up on that one, which is really ironic with this one, is that they had already called Open Door. They had given an offer. And for whatever reason, they didn't take their offer. We ended up getting it at the number that makes sense at our mind, basically. Where we messed up is we spent $10,000 cleaning the property up, replacing the carpets, putting a heavy lipstick to it, basically. And Open Door still gave us the same dollar that they would have given us without doing the $10,000. So we learned from that, basically. That was a tough pill to swallow, but it was one that, we learned really quickly. All right, so when we get these, we're not going to do a damn thing to them, when they were around. We're just going to put it on their site, and if they'll buy it and it makes sense for us just to dump it, we're going to dump it, basically. Right. So, but, again, it comes down to buying it right is really what it comes down to. And
it comes down to knowing you got a buyer, right? So how you buy it right dictates, what is my buyer criteria? Now I know I got to go and shop for this because they're going to pay this.
right.
Your job's so much easier.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Definitely. And then, and we also know what they don't buy and where we can go into things that they're not going to do,
Exactly.
stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't see these companies, but I'm just speculating. I mean, yeah, I'm sure they'll be back in the market when things correct and whatnot, but I don't see how their model can be sustainable to survive doing what they're doing for the long term. I mean, I know that's a privately held company, but based off of Zillow's numbers and the crush that's happened to their stock because of all the losses they've taken from it, I know these guys are taking big losses because we can watch their properties and we see them reducing prices and whatnot because they don't do rehabs. They buy properties, they put them on the market, and that's it. So, I mean, but when you're in a hot market, when times are hot, people will buy them. But as soon as a correction happens, it doesn't work basically at all.
So they're not. I thought this was a company like America One where they were going out and just buying everything, right? Like where they just buy all the single families, whatever Berkshire Hathaway's single family home company is. I can't think of the name right now, but like all they do is buy single families and they hold it as a portfolio. These guys are still flipping.
No, they're flipping them. They're buying them and they're putting them right back on the market and selling them basically as soon as they buy them. And I mean, they're basically buying at 90+% ARV basically on a property. So, so about 90% of what it is. And, it's basically they're getting their real estate fees, which, how much you're going to make on half of the transaction doesn't really make sense to me. Right. But obviously they're doing it. They're obviously well funded. I know they're a hedge fund out of San Francisco, and they've obviously But then again, you look at a guy like Grant Cardone and what's happening with him right now. I mean, he said, come invest with me. I got this under control. You'll make money with me. And that guy, I mean, who knows what's going on with him? But it's looking pretty grim in the Cardone Capital Department.
I saw that video you sent me, and he's out there saying, "Hey, the planes for sale, all the properties are for sale," and it's like, dude, like, he's got a nice portfolio. He's got a decent amount of portfolio. Like, those things start going for cheap. There's gonna be, I mean, if there's blood in the water right now, there's some opportunities for the bigger stuff,
Yep, absolutely. There's definitely going to be. I mean, I just can't believe that he's, I just can't believe that video that was put out because it's like, I mean, listen, I wish him the best, but, if it was me, I'd probably want to do exhaust every avenue I possibly could before basically saying the ship is sinking, I'm getting off, which is what it kind of sounds like he's saying at this point. But
that's what I heard, right? Like, that's what I heard. Firing half his people and then going after, basically, it sounds like he's gonna just let everything go. Like that's what happens when you over leverage, right? I was talking to my coach the other day, not my coach, my mentor, like the local guys, and he was like, "Yeah, we've been talking about him for a long time. He's over leveraged. He's doing things the wrong way. Like you got to keep yourself a chair, right? When real estate, you have a chair. It's musical chairs. You got to have a chair.
Yeah.
When shit goes down.
Yeah.
So going back a minute, you're talking about marketing, right? What is working for you right now? What marketing campaigns are you putting out that you're seeing the best returns on? Is it different from what was 6 months ago, or like is it still the same stuff? And if so, what is the biggest thing if you were to double down your marketing? What's the one that you've seen work? Because it's different for everybody, but.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, we have completely flipped the script in the past 6+ months, basically. I mean, we had a team of cold callers. We were doing direct mail. We were doing voicemail drops. We were doing text blasting, and we got some deals from them basically, but we went into the online market space basically at the beginning of right at the beginning of this year. And I mean, the deals that we have in the pipeline are ready from this year. I mean, what we have in projected revenue for this year, not including the big deal, which I told you a little bit offline. I'll tell you a little bit about it further here in a minute, but not including that one, most people in this business would foam at the mouth to get that done in 1 year. This is in Q1. So, I mean, basically, obviously COVID happened and, now all of a sudden things are, the lead flow is basically stopped. And it's not just for us, other guys we know they're doing online marketing. It's stopped for them as well. So it's a matter of, it's just a matter of time until things start things get figured out again. But that is by far the market space to be in. I mean, at the end of the day, Google is the yellow pages from before, like I remember when I first graduated college eons ago, basically, I interviewed.
Providence, right?
What's that?
Providence, right?
Johnson and Wales, yep, Providence, Rhode Island, basically. So, yeah, I graduated I graduated in 2000, and I lived in Manhattan. I got there basically the July. No, well, I graduated, I guess, in May, and then I went to Manhattan in June. Started working for 3 months, and then 9/11 happened, and everybody I know, that was just right out of school, we all lost our jobs like instantly, basically. So. But one of the jobs I interviewed was to sell Yellow Pages ads. And, I didn't take the job, but I would have been literally lugging around a suitcase around Manhattan full of Yellow Pages books to show people ads and whatnot. But so, I mean, most people don't even know what the Yellow Pages is anymore, but Google is the Yellow Pages now. And I mean, the bottom line is really simple. Like, I mean, people sell my house fast. We pop right up. I mean, we're getting sick impression rates. I mean, we've got a fantastic person that we work with that really knows this business, basically, that we're very lucky to have. And we've got we have basically a split with him where he takes a little piece of the pie, basically, to work that end. And so we know that, number one, we're not throwing thousands of dollars away. Unfortunately, most people that do it don't have somebody like this. So they're throwing thousands of dollars at it, basically, that a company that generally is taking half of it for themselves and doesn't even know what they're doing on the real estate side. So they're just trying to cast a wide net, whereas we've got it so laser focused that we're getting incredible impression rates. I mean, right now our impression rates are through the roof, basically.
Right.
But it's working. It's working very, very well. And so we're going, I don't want to say we're elephant hunting, but, at the same time, we're going after big deals, basically. We're not going to sit there and waste our time for a $5,000 deal. Don't get me wrong, when you're starting, hey, if that's what you got to do to get things going, great, I understand that. But we're at a point where it's just not worth our time. So we're going after these big deals.
I mean, you've been doing this for a while now. You've been doing this for a couple of years now. You moved from Denver, you sold your property up there. That stacked you with cash. And from that point, you were just, I'm never going back to work again. I'm going to 100% be an entrepreneur. I'm going to do it in real estate. And what I've seen, and you have this gift, you've always had, so as long as I've known you, you're laser focused. When you decide to do something, no distractions, and you get obsessed and you dive into it. And you've been in real estate, you've been in wholesaling particularly for a long time. And then it was wholesaling, you just added a step, and then it was flipping, rehabbing, and you've added a step. And next it'll be property management, property ownership, right? It'll be landlording. Like, you've stayed in it and incrementally added. And the only step I've seen you skip on is agency, but that's because the funnel was so big, you didn't even have to do that one. You had so many leads coming through that it was like, it doesn't even make sense to add that.
Right. Yeah. No, I have no interest in becoming. You just don't need it, basically. I mean, we work with a fantastic team that handles that whole aspect and side of it for us. So, we don't need it, basically. But yeah, I mean, it's always kind of been like that. I mean, almost 20 years ago now, I started in the mortgage business, basically. I remember, so 9/11 happened. Then I moved down to Florida, and I was selling telecom outside. And one of the guys I worked with quit, and then I saw him 2 months later. He comes back, he shows me a paycheck stub for $10,000, and I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm selling mortgages." I'm like, "Can you get me a job?" So just like that, I went right into that, basically, and did that for years. I ended up opening up my own mortgage shop with some partners, basically. But we opened it up basically about a year and a half before the shit hit the fan and the market collapsed, and therefore and then we got screwed. We all filed bankruptcy. We all got crushed. And then I was like, and then on top of that, I lost my mother at about the same time. I went through, an easy because of not having money, but, annoying little divorce of my own. And then, but it was great because you want the house, you can have it. It's negative $100,000. So I'll give it to you.
But enjoy yourself.
Yeah, that worked out well. Unfortunately, luckily, that worked out well, basically. And then I said, fuck it all. I'm moving out west. I'm going to go snowboard. And went to Colorado, you know what I mean? Did that for a couple of years, and then I went into, I had a diamond wholesaling business, which I think I told you about, basically, and I was doing that for a while. But that got a little sketchy to me because, here I am, I started amassing it, and then I'd be walking around with like $30,000 worth of diamond rings, basically. And I stay in shape, but I'm not exactly an opposing individual. So
Right.
all it took was one really sketchy, weird phone call and doing a little research of people that have died doing what I'm doing. I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do this. But
Yep.
I had also bought a couple properties in Denver, because I had a sales job also, and
Yep.
bought a couple jobs, condos basically in Denver.
Yep.
You know, and I bought them at the right time. All of a sudden, they just skyrocketed in value, and ultimately, I sold them and I moved back east, and you know, and then back into real estate.
You're skipping the Airbnb part. That
And then,
was when I drove out there, hung out with you. You were
Yeah.
renting out one of your. I actually stayed in that room during that time, but you had your basement rented. Like,
Yep.
you had this beautiful condo, but you were renting like all the spaces that you could find.
Yep.
You had
Yep.
plenty for yourself. You still had like a great space.
Right. Yeah. So I had a couple of condos that were right by Red Rocks, which is like an awesome little contraband out in Colorado.
Which you got to check out, and apparently I can't run up those stairs in Denver air.
Yep, exactly. That's right. I took you there. Exactly. Yeah. So I was renting those out on Airbnb, and that was a great model. I mean, that was fantastic. But that was also a situation that for me, it was sustainable because it was just, you know, I was doing it with properties that, well, so I had my one condo that I was renting out, and it was my mortgage on it was $700 a month, and I was renting it for $1,495. So,
Winning.
I mean, that was a great freaking return, basically. I mean, but then my place, it was a 3-story, it was technically a condo, it was really a townhouse, but the basement had its own living room. I had the basement rented out, it was covering my entire mortgage, basically.
Nope.
And then I had my spare bedroom, literally turning in over $2,000 a month from Airbnb income, basically, which was fantastic, basically.
Yeah.
It was a great way to do it. But the big thing about that, I mean, I know somebody that is in the market that we're in now that has something like $30,000 a month in rental payments for Airbnb, and everybody canceled. So they were doing this model where they're renting out these apartments and then furnishing them and then Airbnb-ing them. Yep. And you know, we're hearing a lot of stories about that. And these people are screwed because nobody's renting them now. So they're going to go, there's going to be a lot of landlords that all of a sudden are not going to have their payments made and be like, well, what's the problem? And it's not because they lost their job. It's because they were renting it behind your back short term. So that's the residual that's going to be happening here probably in the next several months. But I love the Airbnb model without a doubt. You know, when I buy another place, I'm looking for a place that will ultimately for myself, that will also have an attached in-law suite or a duplex that I will do that with, basically, you know, as long as but you got to do it smart. You got to make sure that you're covered, you know, which is what, you know, and don't get me wrong, I get it. I mean, you got to take risks, you got to take chances. And I've done it, and I've taken the risks and taken the chances too. But, you know, eventually you got to get smart, and you got to make sure you're buying right. And that's where the key comes down to this whole situation, is buying right, you know, and that's what people don't realize, you know, a lot of times. They think that they've got it. They're like, oh, we got it. Everything's good. Everything will be fine. And then they find out they got to do $10,000 worth of foundation work to the property, like the one we just did. You know, we knew that, but, you know, hypothetically, you know, it's like, hypothetically, that's it's a nightmare.
It happens all the time. Yeah, I bought a house, $25,000 foundation work, and it's like, well, fuck, like, whoops.
Yeah, exactly. And then all of a sudden, there goes all your profit if you don't buy it right.
Wiped out. Yep. I mean, I finagled the bagel. We did different work, and we ended up cutting a deal, so it worked out. But yeah, it could go like that, sideways.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question.
You talk about doing Google ads. Are you doing Facebook ads as well, or is it strictly just Google?
Just Google. Just Google. I mean, our guy is basically, I guess he tested some Facebook stuff himself. He felt it wasn't really working. It wasn't worth the money. But I mean, our ads, we're not even spending that much money. I mean, we have it set up so that, well, right now, just hypothetically, we have it set up that we'll spend $500 a day. But right now, I mean, we haven't been charged by Google since the 25th of March. And I'm used to every week seeing $500 going to Google. We haven't been charged by Google since March 25th. So that's how slow it has become, basically, because of everything that's going on.
I got you. So basically, Google is pay-per-click, right? So they click, you pay.
Right.
And you just had the budget at 500, and it's never hit that.
It never actually hits that, you know, on a day. But like we're saying, basically, yes, we'll spend $500 a day if the traffic warrants it, and we've got the right keywords set up, so we're high traffic keywords, basically, that are going to convert. Exactly. So, and we will spend it if it's going, you know, if it's going to come through. But there's only so many people that are looking to sell their house fast as is. You know, not to say it doesn't go on all the time, because it does, but there's only so many people each day that are clicking or searching that in a specific market. So Yes, we will spend that much, but on average, we were spending, I mean, about $500 a week. We were generally setting our monthly budget to be around, about $3,300 a month, basically, or $3,100 a month. But, I think we reached that once this year, basically, as far as in a month. So, I mean, obviously you don't know. I mean, Google just tells you here, we're just taking $500 from you, but I mean, they, give you the analytics and whatnot. But yeah, so, I mean, that's what we're doing, and that's what's working very, very well.
Nice.
And, we've got about 6 deals that we're working from that right now from this year.
Yep.
One of them is, I mean, it will be by far the biggest deal I've ever done in my entire life. That, it's still going to take some work to do it.
Let's talk about that one. So you texted me, you shot me over some of the details. This thing sounds like a whale. I mean, this is a deal, right?
This is Moby Dick, is what it is. This is Moby Dick. I mean, it's
Captain Ahab.
Absolutely. Like, there's no question I'm Captain Ahab on this one, basically. This one, Google lead, get the phone call, all hot and heavy, ready to go. How much do you want for it? She says $50,000. And I'm like, and I'm looking at it. I looked it up. I'm like, well, let me get my partner on the phone right now. And, get them on, and we start talking contract, blah, blah, blah. And then we fill the contract out, get everything done, shoot it over, ghosted completely.
All over the phone.
Oh, this is all over the phone. Everything we do is over the phone. We do not go to property until we have it under contract at all.
And that comes from having started out of state, and even though your partner has now moved to North Carolina,
right,
still running the same way.
Correct. Yeah, I take the incoming calls basically. He's the boots on the ground. I mostly do the back operations. I do some sales as well, but we do a combination of it basically. But I basically, I take all the information in, I get everything going, I make sure I get. So the big key to it is that we do not go to property until we have it under contract. Period. End of story. Basically, we require that they send us photos of the property. If they're not going to send you photos of the property, bottom line is they're not serious. Is really what it comes down to. They're kicking tires, and we're not going to go out to your property. I'm like, we'll tell them straight up, like, listen, at the end of the day, we're investors. We're in this business to make money. We're not, we're not going to give you a sob story. I'm not buying this house so that my grandmother can live there. Right. We're in this to make money, basically. And it's got to make sense for all of us. And, if they're not going to even tell you what we don't make offers either. We got to get, you got to tell us what do you want for this property? Right. And then, obviously we can work down from there, but we want to know that, if it doesn't make sense, we're not going to go out there and waste our time. Right. So we get all the information from them. I'll get pictures of the property from them and everything associated with that. Generally, I pass a lot of it off to my partner at that point to handle the actual acquisition and to lock it down. Sometimes I'll just do it myself. It depends on, I feel them out because we both have a sales background basically. Right. And he's very, very good at what he's doing, very good at getting at the optimal price. But I've learned a lot from that as well too. So, obviously I could see where we need it basically from the beginning. Yeah. Some of them I take down myself. But the key is basically, you got to know that it's worth your time basically. And you talk to these wholesalers, these people that are driving an hour and a half to go see a property. They don't even have under contract. It's like, like you're wasting time. You could be on the phone calling 100 people in the time you just drove and wasting the half day that you just wasted. And, it doesn't make any sense basically. So, but, so this one happens and, she says $50,000. I'm looking at the property and actually, let me pull it up right now, actually, to tell you the truth. I can give you some detail. I can't remember the exact number here, but I pull up the address. As I'm on the phone with them, I'll go on to, I'll go on to Zillow, I'll pull up the property address, and I'll, let's see.
Yeah, I love how, like, the way you virtual wholesale, right? Like, you just, everything's over the phone. Now, the other question I had is, I remember you were talking about your partner going out there. Now he finally is living out there. Have you seen a change in your business from him living, he was where, in Texas, or was he living with where you're at in Florida?
He was in Colorado. I met him in Colorado. So no question as far as that goes. We did it virtually for all of 2019. And, and we got some deals. We did some good stuff as far as that goes. But being, and then he started flying out a lot more, and he ended up buying a house there a while ago. So, but the transition of being boots on the ground versus virtual, it's night and day. It literally is night and day, basically, because we know the markets now. We know exactly what we're doing. and a lot more connections have been made. We now have a great contractor crew. Everything, everything's in place basically.
Yep.
But so that's really what the big thing has been is can you do this business virtually? Yeah, you can, but
Proved it.
I mean, I'll give you an example. Actually, I'll show you one here in a minute. Actually, I can share screens with you, but I'm not going to pull up this property because obviously I'm not going to share the screen on this. But so this property, the one she says $50,000 for me, my mouth dropped. As I'm looking at the Zillow for it, and I'm looking at it right now. You want to know the Zestimate on this? And this is land only.
Yeah. Describe it to me. What is the Zestimate on that?
384,890. 384,890. Right.
Yep.
So this is it's 5.7 acres. It's surrounded by $1 million homes. Right.
Wow.
And the and one right down the block that's about I think it was 4.1 acres.
Yep.
In 1993. The year I graduated high school, it sold for $340,000. So we don't know what we're going to get for this, but it potentially could be about $100,000 per acre, and there's 5.7 acres. So
that's amazing.
It's sick. It's absolutely sick. But not to say that this is a done deal. This is going to be a project. This is going to be a process.
Yeah.
But it's pretty amazing is what
it's going to be a fun one. This is a really good, like, it's a game changer, right? Like,
it is.
It is one deal what it was taking you maybe a year to make before, or
right. Yeah.
One
right. Exactly. So, I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. And this one, I mean, this is also the power of, it's being smart about your money and whatnot. We're not going to take this money. We're not going to take a capital gains hit like this, or a short-term capital gains hit to do this. This is, we have set up self-directed IRAs. So this property, we're going to close it, and it's going to go right into our IRAs, tax-free retirement money.
I use an equity trust. What are you using to do that?
The company we're using?
Yeah.
No, not equity trust. It's New Direction is the name of the company we use.
Okay.
But a self-directed IRA, basically, where we're basically doing our own investments for it, basically. But literally, it's going to cost us $51,000 to close this thing. And then all of the profit is going right into self-directed IRA, tax-free. I mean, basically, because realistically, where we are right now for the year, I mean, we don't even need to touch this money. I mean, it's in our own positions to just put it away. But it's too big of a deal to take that kind of hit on, basically, is what it really comes down to.
That's wild.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, stay tuned for that one. We'll talk more about it as that comes together. But it's exciting. It's very, very exciting.
Yeah, that's phenomenal, man. I'm so impressed with everything you and your partner have been doing. And then that step to go to the location where the money is. Like, a lot of people are afraid to go move to where the money is, and like I mean, getting out of Colorado is probably a good move, right? Like, was he in Denver too?
Was he what?
Was he in Denver?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Absolutely. Without a doubt. Yeah, no, he's wanted out. We both wanted out for really the same reasons. For quite some time, I pulled the trigger before he did.
Right.
But yeah, he's now moved there, and then, so yeah, it just made a lot of sense. I mean, just to be able to be there and have so many boots on the ground makes a lot of sense. And he also actually previously lived in Austin, Texas, and with this downtime that we've had from COVID-19, we've started the process of launching Austin.
I like the Austin market. That's going to be a lot of work for you guys, but it's going to be good.
Yep, it's a huge market basically, and we've got a position in place where he has a lot of connections from down there. That we know some people down there that are flipping, right, doing high-end flips down there, or doing very high-end work to flips down there. Yep. We've pretty much discussed a deal with them where we'll find the property, we'll put it under contract, we'll take it down, and then they'll rehab it and we'll split it basically. Some of them, that we're going to do little lipsticks and whatever. Of course, we'll do those on our own. But if it needs a full rehab, they'll do it for us, and we'll split the deal basically without having to be there. So. But his intention ultimately is to have a place in both Austin and North Carolina. My intention is to have a place in North Carolina and South Florida, where I am right now. Yep. And I'm probably going to buy a house in North Carolina at the end of this year, beginning of next year, somewhere around there, and then basically have dual residences just like him. Yep. And that's what our plan is. And specifically, the Austin market is another incredibly strong market, just like the Raleigh-Durham market, basically. Obviously that also means that there's a lot of competition, but the biggest thing about that, competition is you are your own competition is the bottom line, is all it really comes down to. People can sit there and say, oh, there's so much competition, things aren't working, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing, but you just got to work harder is what it really comes down to. You got to
outgrind them, come up with better systems, like market better. So one of the questions I've got to ask you, two questions, but one is what, like, you're picking these markets, but you live in Florida, right? Like that's the craziness, right? You're already living in like paradise. And I know the single family homes out there. Why aren't we working in Florida? Why are we going to these other markets?
Just because of statistically what took place 10 years ago. You know, when markets crashed, the South Florida market it just crumbled to
It's
nothing.
not based on the market today. It's based on what you perceive the future would be. Same with
Yeah,
you, right? So,
absolutely. I mean, they're already talking about, you know, COVID-19 and you know, that same article I was telling you about before, talking about how the market we're in Raleigh, Durham is going to be one of the least affected by it.
right.
South Florida is one of the most affected by it, they're expecting. So, I mean, it's going to happen here again, just like Las Vegas. They're saying again, it's going to probably have another
Yep.
major issue from it. California will probably have another major issue because of it. But these
Yeah.
markets that got crushed before will get crushed again. And if it's not COVID-19, it's going to be something else. I mean, realistically, over the course of history, I mean, you can look at the markets of, you know, stock market and real estate markets. They're a roller coaster. They go up and they go down. I mean, it's not up forever. We're in, you know, we have been in the strongest position for so long right now. For over 10 years, we've had a bull market. We've
Yep.
never, as a country, had a bull market that long. So something is bound to take us down. I mean, I hope it never happens, but something's going to do it. So we specifically wanted to make sure we're positioned that we're working in markets that will stay strong during those times. You know,
Yeah,
that will stay
I
strong.
100% agree with you. Your take on it is solid, right? There's so many guys I know who are in Florida because they like Florida, but they're investing in other places. You know, Cleveland, they're investing
Yeah.
in North Carolina with you, Texas, Houston, Austin, Arizona, Phoenix, right? Like they're hitting all of these spots all across the country, but living in Florida or living in California, right? Or
Yeah.
we're here in New England, and everybody's just the markets make sense. They're big enough and they're still expanding enough where even though there's, you know, competition, it's really not like nobody's running the same exact campaigns. Nobody's running them as good, and you can always do more. And you
Right.
come up with a good strategy. Now you've put boots in the ground, right? Like you've gone and said, hey, you know what? Putting somebody there, and you and your partner. This is the crazy part. I'm so fascinated by what you've done, Drew. Right? You're not a wholesaler by yourself. You've
No.
brought a partner in who has opposite or complementary skills, and then you've brought an additional partner in. It sounds like, you know, maybe not an equity partner, but an additional partner for your marketing side. So
Yeah.
the three of you are all working together at different levels of equity. You and your original partner probably have a higher equity stake, and then this other partner comes in and just only on the deal that they work with you on, they get a piece of, right? Like your business has exploded as you've expanded and been open to having partnerships.
Right. Yeah.
Not crazy.
Exactly. I mean, but the thing is about that though, realistically, it's just like, you know, we're not, it's not a partnership where it's just like, oh yeah, you know, I promise I'll do my part. I'll do everything I'm doing. I mean, we're all bringing something to the table.
Right.
Is what it comes down to. And we're all able to, we're holding up our end of the bargain, and, you know, and we're all invested in this, you know. Well, I mean, our marketing guy is not investing capital, but he's investing time, but we're working with him because he knows what he's doing, and we're willing to give him a nice chunk of the pie because he can provide for us a service that we can't get anywhere else, basically.
Right.
So, I mean, you know, you can't be afraid to, you know, to give up some equity to, for the bigger picture. And the bigger picture, you know, is already, you know, really showing itself to be, you know, just so worth it just in one quarter. So we said, you know what, we want to duplicate this and go to Austin, basically. So, you know, he's a part of that too. We're setting that up and we're going to Austin with it.
And
So,
for him to do that it's a couple clicks, and he already can dive into that market just by a little pivot. So for him, it's easy to jump into with you guys.
pretty much, yeah. I mean, you know, it's basically, I mean, obviously there's still work and stuff that, you know, behind the scenes that he has to do, but yeah, now that he's, you know, he does his own two markets. So he does those, and then, you know, and now he's doing two markets with us. But yeah, he's just duplicating what he had done before, but he's doing it right, is what it comes down to. So we're able to work out some pretty amazing stuff.
I love that you've got this synergy. What is it that you're giving them? Like, how are you paying him, right? Because you're not agents, so there's no commission involved. So this is perfect, right? You're paying him a marketing fee, or you're saying, hey, this is part of the deal, so here's a marketing fee, right? This is, you know, what?
Yeah, it's a percentage of each deal that closes that he's a part of, is what it comes down to. I mean, we're paying for our own Google marketing. He's doing the actual behind the scenes Google work.
Yep.
And then as a return, he gets a percentage of of each deal that we close.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Like I have affiliate marketers who actually they pay for the marketing, right? And then they send us the deal, and if we close, we hook them up, right? So there's similar, but like the key is that you're expanding and you're going so big that it's like, I can't do this by myself. I got to bring somebody else in. Like that's huge, right?
Right.
Like, and having two people working together, three people working together, like it makes you guys unstoppable. You guys are invincible at this point, right?
We
Like
are getting there. We're getting there.
you're
Yep.
not crushing one market, you're expanding. And now you're not just doing wholesale. Like you've said, wholesaling is great, but fuck, why would I wholesale when I buy it? Like once you got into the position where you could buy it and you got
Right.
the team in place, why do anything else?
Right. Exactly. That's exactly what it comes down to. I mean, I'm very lucky to have a position where, I partnered up with a guy that had already done over 150 flips,
Yeah.
and had a huge network of stuff in place. We became good friends in Denver. We hit it off and talked some business and said, yeah, maybe we should do something together. And we decided to do it as far as that goes. So he's brought a lot of expertise to the table that, has been very, very valuable as far as that goes. We together have been able to build a very nice business together that we see a huge future with, basically. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to, if you're going to work with a partner, you got to have somebody that's going to also bring things to the table that's going to, financially is a big part about it too. We're doing everything financially 50-50 as far as that goes. And I mean, I've had partnerships with people before where people either didn't have the money and, I worked hard and used my own money to go into it, or they were too scared to spend money, which ends up hurting it too. They had the money, but they wouldn't spend it on marketing or something like that. But this being in real estate is like any other business. You've got to have thick skin. You've got to be willing to take a risk. That's what being an entrepreneur is. People, at the end of the day, everybody says they want to do it. They act like they're going to do it, but a lot of times they just don't have the risk tolerance that it possibly takes to do this.
Right.
And you've got to position yourself to expect to not make any money, basically, and to possibly lose everything. And if you're not willing to take that chance, then it's not for you, is what it comes down to. We look at, I hate to say it, but where you and I met, these big rooms of people, like I bet that you could, I hate to say fingers and toes, how many people in those rooms actually are doing something.
Right.
But a lot of those
1%, people, 5% max.
Yeah, exactly. The vast majority of them are basically lost in a job in a cubicle right now, not getting anything done.
Yep.
So, but yeah, it's not for the weak at heart. You've got to be willing to take a risk. And, most people just aren't able to do it. But that's exactly why 3% of the people, 97% of people work for the 3% who didn't give up. Really
Absolutely, man. And I'm going to wrap this up, but I want to get 3 pieces of advice you'd give to wholesalers or young flippers who are looking to do what you've been doing, who are looking to become successful. If you go back to young Drew, right? Young Drew, before you got into mortgages, like go back and like give yourself that advice. What 3 pieces would you give yourself now with all the knowledge you had? What would you go back and tell yourself?
I guess probably, never give up, be the first thing, basically, when I was young and, and hungry, but didn't have money and, trying to think of any idea that could possibly make money and do things. I probably gave up on a few things that could have matured and could have become something. So I definitely say that, never give up. To look at things from every angle is one of the biggest things, I've learned, from working with my partner, basically, is, to make sure you look at every deal from every single angle. And, not only do we do that, but, we're looking at creative things that we weren't even interested in doing before because it just wasn't, we didn't necessarily need to do it. So you got to be able to look at every single thing, every business you're in or every deal that you're working with multiple exit strategies, not just a one-way out ticket. So that's something I'd strongly suggest. And then, don't be afraid of constructive criticism. It's one thing for somebody to, talk down on you, that's whatever, but, be willing to accept, constructive criticism and to grow from it, also, and the thing, are to don't be afraid to fail, basically, because, what do you do if you lose? If you lose at all, you're that much closer to making it, basically, just like in sales. 99 people can tell you hell no, but the 100th person is going to say yes, and you're going to close and you're going to make money. So you just got to, my thing is just never give up. I think would be the big thing I would say.
Yeah, that's the theme of your life, man. You're a driver, man. Like as long as I've known you, Drew, you've always pushed. You've always stepped up and just you get laser focused and it's like boom, you just go.
Yeah.
I said that at the beginning of the call. What is something that a young wholesaler could do to help you out, right? What if if I were to put this out, and most of my community is wholesalers, a lot of them are in North Carolina, they're investing out there, they're in Georgia, they're in the southern states.
Yeah.
What could they do to help you market more? Or is there like a contact or an email you'd like them to reach out to you and just say, hey, this is the stuff I'm looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you have wholesalers, especially that are in our markets, either in the Austin and surrounding areas, or all throughout North Carolina as well. Mostly, we're in the Raleigh Triangle market. My direct email address is Drew, DREW, at properhomesale.com. I can also be reached on. You can find me on Instagram at Drew Martin, REI. Those are the ways to get a hold of me. And we're always looking for connections with with other wholesalers. The biggest thing, with them is that, I mean, and we'll help you. We'll look at anything you got. But, you gotta do everything you can to understand what a deal is, and to make sure that, you're presenting an actual deal.
Right. I love that. Drew, that's phenomenal advice, dude. It's always a pleasure to see you and be able to hang out. So thank you for taking the time. Thank you for all the education, for all the value. And I will see you very soon, my friend. Good luck with that deal. Shoot me a text as soon as it closes, all right?
Absolutely. Sounds like a plan. Great connecting you as well. Always.
Later, Drew. Tell Susan I said hi.
Will do. All right.
Later, brother.
Later.